Hello everyone.
Hello.
My name is Angelika Heinrich, but you are welcome to call me Angie. I'm the product manager for the next capability that we're going to talk about under the WatchTower platform that relies on OpenTelemetry. So before I dive into all of that, I'd like to just know from the people in the room, is OpenTelemetry a term you're familiar with? Lots of nodding.
You can put open in front of it. I have kind of an idea what
Okay.
you're talking about, but I've not heard that specific term.
Okay, perfect. So then I know where we are and exactly what I need to dive into as we go forward. So in case, for those of you joining online, if you haven't heard already, we are talking about the WatchTower platform, which is our unified and user-friendly observability platform that hones in on the various roles involved in observability and provides each of those users with the insight that they require. Within the WatchTower capabilities, we have quite a few. We're focusing today on Z-Iris, the eye into the mainframe real-time streaming, but we have quite a few other capabilities: alert insights, machine learning insights, topology, and AP4Z. Talking about observability players, we have Kelly.
She doesn't look very happy, does she?
No, she does not. I'm glad you noticed. She is a little upset. Let's talk a little bit about what Kelly does. Kelly, as an SRE, she wants to know that the infrastructure, the applications are stable, reliable. Why? Because everything we do in technology is about our users. What is their experience at the end of the day? So Kelly uses different kinds of tools. Nicole mentioned them earlier: Dynatrace, Datadog, Splunk, many, many more. And she uses those tools to understand the infrastructure and the application health overall, and then also being able to drill down and work with different SMEs across the enterprise to get our applications up and running again. Here we are looking at what we call a service map. A service map gives us a summary of all the requests that are running within our environment, logically grouped by a service name. For example, we see something like the banking client at the top. That would be your end user interface, some kind of banking app that they're clicking on, and that generates requests that flow throughout the IT estate from the front end all the way down into the back end. Now we can see here there are a couple of indicators using colors that tell us red, we have a problem, a lot of errors coming up. For example, in the transaction service over here, we have a 16.8% error rate and a very high latency. We see on the API gateway, there is also an increased error rate, 20%, as well as a higher latency. Now, Kelly's been working in her organization for a long time. She knows that behind these services here, down at the bottom, they all lead to mainframe. And she's a little upset because she cannot see what's happening on the mainframe. And her role is really across the enterprise to understand the business, the health of the business service. And how are we going to help Kelly? We're going to help her by making sure she can get the insights from the mainframe in the tools she is familiar with. If she uses Splunk every day, that is where she needs to get that information. Now, how are we going to do that? We're going to do that by providing mainframe performance information using OpenTelemetry. Now, as one gentleman said, what is it? OpenTelemetry is a project that was brought to the industry by the Cloud Native Computing Foundation in 2019. It is a summary of all of the open source standards that have been used over the years, and they have cherry-picked the best of to provide us with a standardized framework of how we will make applications observable. How can we see them? The telemetry we provide you with OpenTelemetry is traces and metrics, and there are many more types of data. Traces give us a request flow. Metrics give us a point-of-time view of different performance indicators. And that data is then sent over to the tools that the Kellys in the world are familiar with, and they're all supported by the tools mentioned here and many, many more. I think there is a list of about 150 different tools that already support OpenTelemetry today. And OpenTelemetry is a growing project, which means that a lot of the telemetry signals we're seeing now are going to just expand. Profiling from AP4Z is something that we're going to see involved in the OpenTelemetry project as well. What does that mean? Let's look at the new service map with WatchTower Z Iris. Kelly is very happy now because she can actually identify that from that banking client down in transaction service, that is not the end of the road. Transaction service is actually using DB2 on the mainframe, and it's doing that through JDBC. And so what the WatchTower platform is providing her is already with that relationship indicator, as well as the key performance indicators we need to understand the health of DB2. We can see DB2 is orange. It's orange. It's telling us there is high latency in DB2 and a slight increase in the error rate. Okay, but Kelly looks at the API gateway. API gateway is red, but from the downstream, let's look at ZOS Connect. There is not much of a change there. It's green, it's healthy. We see WOLA. WOLA is then calling DB2. There doesn't seem to be an impact on that stream. So Kelly can now say, okay, on this side, what I feel like is the mainframe side of this is healthy. The problem may be related to a change on the API gateway side, and she can drill down into API gateway and find out when was the last deployment, are there new versions of the API services, etc. But what's really great is Kelly knows that she can contact the DB2 team, share the information she has. They can use WatchTower and go ahead and investigate more about how DB2 is impacting that transaction service.
Say if that's Datadog, yeah, that orange box in the bottom left, can you go back just with a click, or do you just literally jump back to WatchTower, a different tab in your web browser, or can you dynamically link back to it?
So this, you would have to go back to WatchTower,
yeah.
But that is a really good question, because there are a lot of information that Z-Iris includes. So let's think about tracing, and we're going to look at it in a second. Traces use tags and attributes. And within those tags and attributes, we can provide transaction identifiers, logical unit of work IDs, and things that we could easily plug into the WatchTower platform to help our mainframe SMEs also very quickly find exactly what is required within their WatchTower observability platform. So we're helping both sides. Okay. I got my yes.
A question too.
Sure.
So when can she share the screen with her,
yes,
her mainframe counterpart? So, or if she's screenshotting and putting it in an email, like.
I mean, it depends on the organization. The customers we work with provide the mainframe team with read access to everything within their Grafana or their Datadog or whatever it is that they're using. So they'd be able to, she'd be able to send them a link and they could see the same.
It would open up to the right place. And
yeah, exactly. So this was mentioned earlier. We are committed to open mainframe, open APIs, as well as OpenTelemetry. I'm going to jump into the demo, and hopefully we can enjoy all of this, because I am conscious that we're very close to the end of time. Remember, we are talking about the end user experience. Users go onto our beautiful Z-Iris shop and they're buying t-shirts and obviously a lightsaber, because that's what we need. And when everything goes well, everything's hunky-dory. Users are happy and we're happy. When that user clicked on Buy Now, we were creating a request that flows through a system. That request through OpenTelemetry is made visible. I can see how that request flowed through the system using traces. And every trace we can see here is built by spans. So we have the user root span at the top, and as the request flows through different applications and infrastructure, a new span is created. We can see how much time each of those applications contribute to the end user experience. We can see tags, context, not just how long it took, but we can see things like the actual database that the SQL call was trying to use. We can see the user name. We can see the server port that it was using to contact DB2, for example. So this is all built into the OpenTelemetry framework, how we create these spans, right? This is great. Now, what happens when things don't go well? Users are trying to buy, we're losing money because this user can't buy more at this point in time. It's taking longer. User experience is degraded. So what would we do In order to understand the error, we would probably go back to the traces, which is going to happen in a second. Can't fast forward, unfortunately. But what we can see here is what typically would happen as a user, what I do. I've tried to buy, it didn't work, I tried again, it didn't work, and maybe the second after that, I won't go back, right? I've already lost that business. So let's look at the error. We can see that same flow happening, and we can see that the payment backend service here has an exception from the DB2 SQL driver telling us a 913, that is a DB2 code for a deadlock on the mainframe. And a deadlock can happen when more than one calls try to manipulate an object at the same time, and that object has been locked by one of those, right? So what has WatchTower contributed here? We can see this new DB2 deadlock span has come up. That is sent by the WatchTower solution. We are providing that trace, that span, that is one telling the Kelly a deadlock has occurred, and we can tell you exactly what resources, the network peer address that came through on our machine, what user IDs were used by that service request, and many, many more. This is information that's not only helpful to Kelly, but also maybe to someone like the Shermans, right? And not only do we do that, but you can see we provide a lot of detail about the DB IDs. Those are your objects within the database. So she can really dive into that. And what's great about these enterprise observability tools is all of these tags in this tool look very simple, but in tools like Datadog or Splunk, those can be used with the AI ops engines, and it will automatically detect some commonalities between deadlocks and highlight that to Kelly straight away. Now, the other thing that we love about OpenTelemetry is the ability to very quickly link two processes that are otherwise very separate from each other, but for one instance, like a deadlock, have a relationship. And the way you can do that in OpenTelemetry is using what they call a span link. So I can say that this specific unit of work had a temporary relationship with another. And in a second, we're going to see how that works. And what we do is we're going to tell Kelly, this deadlock obviously cannot happen just because one request was trying to perform an action, but because you and one or more. And so she'll be very easily be able to navigate between this request and the other request that was related to that. So we can see the other trace or the other application request here, which is the fraud detector installed on our system. And we can see that this was actually conflicting with the ability for our users to buy t-shirts. It was blocking the resource. And that's already helping with impact analysis, root cause, and she can work with Sherman to understand what are these applications doing, how often are they deadlocking, and how can we improve this over time. Well, final statement, I would just like to go over the architecture of how we do this. The way we include mainframe into the observability tools that Kelly uses is by streaming SMF data real-time or near real-time. So as requests are being processed and SMF data is being written, we're getting that off platform. And we use Kafka to do that. And once it's in the Kafka, we have what is called the ZIRIS server, which is actually processing that SMF data and turning it into OpenTelemetry traces or metrics. And that data then gets sent over to whichever tool Kelly is familiar with today. And last but not least, I did want to just end on, obviously, some of the partners that we work with. Corey Minton, CTO for Splunk, he talked about how having this visibility, allowing Kelly to understand and see how mainframe plays a part in those business services is a game changer for understanding overall health.
Got one technical question for you.
Sure.
The SMF streaming, are you pulling that out of memory?
Yes.
Or waiting till the SMF data sets flip, or pulling it straight out and
In
getting
memory.
it straight away?
In memory.